On the 17th of May 2024, Opportunity Peterborough held a bondholders breakfast. Guest speaker was Mr Ashley Butterfield of the Asset Earning Power Group. This is very interesting, as Opportunity Peterborough is owned by Peterborough City Council, the local planning authority, who are considering a planning application from the Asset Earning Power Group for 1,500 homes at the East of England Showground. It would appear that as the planning authority is helping to promote the application, granting permission for the building will be a formality. At the meeting, Mr Butterfield branded the Speedway protesters as a selfish, small cohort. But before I reply to Mr Butterfield, courtesy of the Peterborough Telegraph, let's see him in action at the bondholders breakfast.
Paul,
I know it's a sore point, but why can't you include a speedway track in your
it's a great point.
It's one word he hasn't used.
Let's be fair.
Put your money on the table now.
Is that the time?
No, because I've got all day to talk about this. So, no, the reason why we can't have Speedway, as I've said to you, Paul, 25 times, and I've said to Speedway 250 times, it loses money. It lost the charity. They keep saying it's viable. It is not viable. I can show you the accounts, the records, the finances over 50 years of losing money. A charity cannot support a sport that is privately owned to lose money. Now, their accounts say it made money. It made £7,000. Okay? But that's because the charity was supporting it financially. Now, why can't we, as we go forward, when it's not the charity, who in their right mind commercially would support our privately owned business to lose us money? Any hands up? Okay, that is the bottom line answer. The other answer is, who in their right mind, could be some Speedway fans in the room, would buy our house if Speedway was here? Or here, or here, or here. It does not work. But you would probably buy a house if there's a driving range, or if there's, other facilities. So commercially and viability-wise, it does not work. And also operationally, to develop housing and leisure, it doesn't work. What we do have is letters of support for this development. And those letters of support, thank you, those letters of support are really powerful. Enormous letters of support. And those letters of support at the moment probably represent about 50,000 people in the community. So not 1,800 or 500, but about 50,000 people in the community are supporting and backing and the voice of that. We believe we have pipeline getting up to 100,000 people supporting this. Today, we would love your support. It's my selling bit. So if anybody wants to talk to me later and write us a lovely letter of support, we would massively appreciate that. Thank you. Actually, this is supportive. This is what people of Peterborough want and need, rather than a very small cohort. And the other thing is, sorry, my last thing, sorry Paul, you brought it up, is how bloody selfish of a very small cohort of people trying to stop a development for their own sport. 14 times a year, 3 hours per time. They're trying to stop this from happening in Peterborough. Really, really selfish.
It's what people do, sadly.
Sorry?
It's what people do.
It's what people do. There you are, I won't put
Mr Ashley Butterfield has made some nice claims about the Peterborough Panthers and them losing money, claiming to have gone through their accounts at Company's House. I would like to do the same for AEPG Ltd, but the company was only registered as a limited company at Company's House on the 20th of August 2020. On the 26th of August 2021, the company was filing dormant accounts for the period ending the 31st of March 2021. Yet the financial statements for the East of England Agricultural Society for the year ending the 31st of December 2021, the trustees' report was to state that AEPG Ltd had taken on the showground services at the beginning of January 2021. So how could they file dormant company accounts? The report was signed by Mr Richard Bramley, a name you should remember. In the East of England Agricultural Society report for the winter and autumn of 2021, Mr Richard Bramley, in the chairman's welcome, says that AEPG, led by Ashley Butterfield, has an extensive background in land and residential development. The AEPG Ltd website only seems to show the East of England Showground as something they're working on. No other developments, past or ongoing, are known about. In the Peterborough local plan, 650 houses were allocated for the East of England Showground, but not where the Speedway track is. The Speedway track was allocated to continue. East of England Showground Services Limited, prior to COVID, was showing a profit of over £300,000 per annum, with administrative expenses of over £1.25 million. The East of England Agricultural Society news for the autumn and winter of 2021 gave the impression that large events like Truckfest was going to carry on. So when did the society agree to a change? With the stand trashed, the Panthers defunct, Truckfest gone to Lincoln, and many other events lost. What happens if planning permission is refused? I feel this is poor charity management. I don't feel that AEPG should be known as the Asset Earning Power Group, but the Arse Earning Power Group. But, unlike Mr Butterfield, I will now substantiate my claim. For that, we need to go back in time to 1961, when Holbridge Parish Council signed a lease with the Crown Commissioners for some land at Roman Bank, Holbridge Bank, to be allotments. The allotments were known as Crownfield Bank. And in the 70s, my father used to cultivate number 2. January 2005, and a meeting is held at the allotments. The householder living adjacent to the entranceway, the chair of allotments representing Holbridge Parish Council, and Mr Richard Bramley of Carter Jonas, acting as agents for the Crown Estate. Before the next parish council meeting, the conifers were uprooted and the entranceway blocked. At the January council meeting, councillors agreed for the entranceway to be closed. But by the end of February, this was fenced into the householder's garden. The roadway at the rear of the property was also fenced in to the householder's garden. I had become the tenant of allotment number 2 in the 90s, and when the chair of allotments was challenged over the fence being erected and the contractor running on and digging into a growing crop of daffodils, his response was that it was my fault that I had planted my daffodils too close to the boundary. The councillor was astounded when I told him that I had letters and plans from 1999 and the boundary was not where the fence had been erected. The Crown Estate served no deed of release on the parish council, and no planning permission was sought for change of use from agricultural to residential. This is probably best summed up by the Holbridge Parish Council Allotment Inspection Report of 2005, which mentions neighbouring houses encroaching onto allotment land and the Crown unwilling to act. 2007 saw Mr Hawkes appointed as Deputy Clerk to Holbridge Parish Council. He was adamant that things were not right. The arrogance is best summed up by the minutes of the Parish Council of March 2009. A reply from Richard Bramley. They would bring a tape measure when next in the area. June 2009. 4 years after the fence was erected, Mr Bramley was to finally turn up for a meeting. Then little was to happen, with Mr Bramley missing several deadlines. The council decided to get their solicitors to write directly to the Crown. March 2010, and a plan turned up from Carter Jonas with just a compliment slip, which was passed on to myself. May 2010, and the clerk was writing directly to Sir Stuart Hampson, Chairman of the Crown Estate. Interestingly, the previous March, Mr Hawkes, the clerk, had received an email from Peter Chamberlain of the Crown Estate. Interestingly, I note in passing, the lease of the allotments to the council, dated 3rd November 1961, shows no access ways to the let land. It was not realised at the time, but an Horizon-style cover-up was taking place. February 1994, when I took on allotments 3 and 4, the chairman of allotments mentioned that I should keep the entranceway open, and he should know, as he was a signatory of the original lease. November 2010, and certain councillors proposed a vote of no confidence in the clerk, and he was subsequently voted out of office. Mr Bramley was to leave the employ of Carter Jonas in December of 2010. January 2011, and there is a meeting with a new Crown representative, the Chair of Allotments and the Chairman of the Council, who happens to be the husband of the clerk, who was the clerk when the fence was erected. It was said that the Crown had asked for the land back, but subsequently a Crown representative was to say that they only took the allotment land back from the parish council because they could not let it. The latter I believe to be the case, as when the Crown was contacted regarding returning the land, it was not the current clerk who contacted them, but the clerk of the parish council when the fence was erected, who was now the deputy clerk. So why was nothing done about the fence, and why try and cover it up? The answer to that could be a conversation with the householder. In the conversation, he was to say that he had probably paid over the odds, and before putting his fence up, the householder had contacted Mr Bramley, and Mr Bramley had told him that nobody was going to come and tell him to take his fence down. That piece of land was now his. In 2024, the Crown Estate, under a Freedom of Information request, was asked about the entranceways from Roman Bank to their land. In respect of the former Crownfield Bank allotment roadway, they said it was transferred to the householders. At the time, they was receiving a new right of way from Holbridge Parish Council to their land. A subsequent Freedom of Information request asked how much they received for this parcel of land. The answer was nothing. So if the householder paid over the odds, as he said, What happened to the money if the Crown Estate did not receive it? So has similar been going on at the East of England Agricultural Society?